going to be, as you already know, diving through safety and security for artists today. The discussion is going to be pretty light in terms of should not be a university lecture where I'm just reading and telling you all things to remember and know. Going to be a couple interactive parts. We'd love participation from everybody, where people can just chime in, jumping off mute verbally. Then also feel free to jump in at any time and ask questions, whether or not you want to raise a hand or just my preference is just start speaking up and I'll slow down and pause. Feel free to jump in at any time, and we'll also have some question and answer periods at the end of each section as well. With that, let me present some things off my screen and we'll get started.
I just have to mention quickly that we have a chat for the voice channel, and if you don't know how to reach it, it's on the top right corner. There should be a like a comic bubble, and when you click on that, it's
Chat.
going to show chat. Yep. Some of the times, most of the times, the residents are not able to speak out loud, so they might be dropping questions over there.
Perfect. I will check that just as regularly as I check anybody saying anything out loud.
Awesome.
Okay, we have the infinite projection of screens here. Let me just bring up. All right. Now, so since if I'm projecting like this, I cannot see the chat. So if you just give me 1 second, I'm going to plug into a second screen so I can also see you all.
Meanwhile, while you're doing this, just want to say a huge thank you from all of us for helping us with this incredibly important topic of safety and security for artists in the NFT space. As we know, the blockchain is still a wild, wild west of a space, and there are still ways for us to protect ourselves against any kind of weirdness and spammy behavior and um, anybody who is not willing to do us any good. So from all the residents and myself and Nicole, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time for such an important topic.
Of course, and hopefully it does some good as well. Okay, I think we should be good. Boom. Y'all see that? Lovely.
I can confirm it's visible.
Awesome. So let's dive in. So safety and security. Everybody here has, for some reason or another, been exploring NFTs. Whether that is, coming from the artistic side is everyone, but you need to still understand all the different dimensions around it. So whether that's buying, selling, authenticating, or even using the blockchain to create art. So what's next? The things we want to cover today are going to be how do I securely hold my crypto assets? What is public and private key encryption? How do I use a hardware wallet? Should I use one? What should I look for in the crypto world? And how do I protect my identity, whatever that identity may be? These are the basics of crypto security, and hopefully it'll allow you to have a better understanding of what the landscape has in store for you as you continue to explore your journey with NFTs. We're going to talk about the origin of Bitcoin, public and private key encryption, crypto wallets, protecting your identity, phishing, porting, scams, and some best practices as well. Before we get to that, though, we are going to get a little more familiar with each other. So let's do a poll. Folks can just type, raise their hand in the residence voice channel as we go through this. So first on, how many of you own any Bitcoin? All right, we got a couple people. Yuri, I'm gonna pick on you since you've shown some interest. Where did you purchase it originally? Off like Coinbase or something?
Bitcoin, yes, I got it from Binance, from Brazilian real to Binance, but also the last time actually was sending ETH to it's called a website called Simple Swap, where you send one, like it converts, like I sent ETH to one address, magically Bitcoin appeared on the other side on my other wallet.
Nice, I love it. Okay, what about Ethereum? Or Tezos is next. How many of you hold Tezos? Anticipating there will be some more for Tez and ETH than Bitcoin. And what about Ethereum? And would most people characterize their holding of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Tezos, obviously Bitcoin being the outlier here, is it connected to your artistic practice? Or is it also for investment purposes? Franco, that's a beautiful answer. That's the point I'm getting to later. Nice. All right. And last question. How many of you hold something else? Nice. USDC. Okay. I am too. It's like right here off camera, keeping the hands warm in Germany. Okay. So why are these important questions? Because the different reasons that you hold crypto probably have a connection to how securely you're probably holding it. If you're holding it because this is the store of your family's net worth, you might have some different mindset towards the security practices you take to it. If it's, Franco, like you said, it's your income, that also has a very different mindset to the way that you secure it and you hold it and you use it. If you're just holding micro amounts of Ethereum or Tezos just to go and mint artwork every now and again, and maybe any of your proceeds go somewhere else or back into collecting, you might have a different idea of how to hold or store your crypto themselves, the tokens that represent the receipts or the authentication or even sometimes the artwork themselves. How you hold that might have a different idea whether or not you consider yourself to be a collector or just an artist, how many pieces you have that maybe you've minted, you haven't sold yet, that you're holding. All of these things factor into your mindset. Because the biggest point here is that the best security practice that you can deploy as being a person working in the crypto world is that you're your best line of defense against security threats. It's your ability to be diligent over your practices, to scrutinize everything and every action you take, including platforms that you might trust. And then also understanding that you yourself have to be the first person to look at an action you're taking and evaluating the risk profile that it's creating for you externally in the crypto world. So how many of you use a hardware wallet or own a hardware wallet? If you don't know the difference between a hardware wallet and a crypto wallet, or I'm just saying wallet a bunch of times, we're going to cover this in more depth a little bit later. Okay. And Mr. Butcher, or Reverse Butcher, there are some ledgers coming for everyone part of the class. So Franco, you'll get one as well, and you can have number 5 as well. Next up, let's dive into just, as I just mentioned, the mindset you take into your NFTs or your crypto will very much be an output of the security apparatus that you'll put into it, holding it and storing it. So I think it's important to appreciate what is Web3, what is the idea of it, why does it matter, and then also start you down your journey to figuring out what you're doing in this world. We wouldn't be sitting here and talking about security in crypto and best practices if crypto wasn't a means to a larger ends. And so what is that? We're going to watch a quick clip from Steve Jobs. Give me a thumbs up if y'all can hear it.
We can hear it. It's possible that you might have to switch it on via your speakers of the device that you're using, and also to mute your audio, your mic, so that we can hear your audio but not your mic. Does that make any sense?
I will try that once, and then if it doesn't work, I'll just paste it in, and people can watch it on their own.
Perfect. We're still not able to hear it. You might have to unmute your mic, but then start your audio, and it might work, but you have to be silent yourself.
Yeah, instead of trying to play IT today, I posted a link in. It's only about the first 50 seconds that are relevant to the storytelling here. So if you want to watch it over the next 1 minute, I'll give everyone a chance, and then we'll go from there. And that clip right there actually led to the 1980, or was a precursor to the 1980 ad campaign from Apple, A Bicycle for the Mind, talking about computer and a personal computer as just a tool. And so when we actually ask ourselves, what is Web3? Web3 is a technological movement building tools for the decentralized economy. And I think that that's really important to think about as you all continue your journey, that everything around Web3, especially the NFT bucket and everything below it, is just a tool. And it's a tool for you all to use both in your creative exploration, but also in your own personal exploration of what is the best way for society to organize itself. When we look at kind of the history of all that, where does the idea of the decentralized economy come from? And what are we kind of working towards in this new technological landscape where we get to own a lot more of the things we create? I think it's also important to remember that every action you all take in the larger NFT ecosystem, whether or not you're here to just have a new medium to sell art and authenticate it, your actions dictate the path that the technology will evolve on. And that by placing your money somewhere or using a certain type of platform or using a certain type of place to mint your NFTs, you yourselves are making the choice about whether or not that's a good product to use. And safety and security in the crypto world dictates that you are aware of the different types of platforms out there and what they're doing and why they matter to the larger trajectory of decentralization. The quick chart here just kind of shows that the idea of decentralism or the decentralized economy is not something that's been born just through blockchain and digital technologies. It's been around for much, much longer than that. E.F. Schumacher is a great person to read. His book, Small is Beautiful, talks about how smaller communities built on economic principles are better inherently for the environment and the world. Dee Hock, who created the Visa network, said that large organizations become too complex and they too greatly hurt the world, and that smaller, more kind of decentralized in their order organizations are better for the world and better for the environment as well. Ruth Catlow, who I'll mention on the next slide, I recommend reading as a book that she published in 2017 with some others called Rethinking the Blockchain. And then not necessarily endorsing Balaji's book, The Network State, but it's a very recent publish of blogs from his. He was the former COO of Coinbase about the network state. How could we build an online community that has real world standing in the international community? So Ruth Catlow wrote this little blurb about for an introduction into digital art for NFTs. Mainly, humanity needs new strategies for social and material renewal. It also needs to develop more diverse and lively ecologies of ideas, occupations, and values, identifying that the NFT art world is a medium that can take advantage of new strategies for social and material renewal through the blockchain. Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the underlying kind of Cambrian explosion of the decentralization movement. Bitcoin itself was not just created out of thin air. It is the stitching together of multiple primitive level cryptographic tools over the last 60 years that then produced a complete package of Bitcoin, of blockchain, that then led to the innovation of Ethereum, that led to smart contracts, that led to NFTs as we know them today. So just a quick look at Bitcoin and its history, mainly of cryptology and cypherpunks. To look at it more in a timeline like this, DigiCash was first proposed in 1983. This was one of the first, it was the first actually, digital cash samples from a technology that was just emerging at that time. I think 1987 is when they say the official internet launched, and David Chaum was building this in 1983. Hashcash was supposed to be an email anti-spam mechanism. So everyone dealing with huge amounts of spam NFTs in your wallet, we need to get Dr. Adam back on that right away. B-Money. probably one of the most pivotal ones that led to the creation of Bitcoin, enforced contractual e-agreements between autonomous actors. Hal Finney created proof of work in 2004. BitGold, Nick Szabo for non-scarce digital collectibles, which was the precursor to being able to create NFTs. And all of that was stitched together in 2009 by the pseudonymous developer Satoshi Nakamoto for Bitcoin. I think it's really important to have a full picture of the world of NFTs and crypto and blockchain is not a financial technology or cultural technology or an artistic technology, but one that comes from cryptography. So when you're interacting with wallets or you're trying to have the right mindset to crypto security, you have to understand that you're interacting with cryptographic tools. And therefore, permissions that are set up, signing a transaction, matter tremendously. We'll touch on it in a couple of minutes, but without understanding that, you might think it's something as simple as like signing a T's and C's on a website, terms and conditions, something you can just click away, or the GDPR requirements for every website now. They use click away. And every action you take with a wallet or with your NFTs, your crypto, has a reaction somewhere on chain that could, in theory, be irreversible, or in theory, lay you susceptible to a scam or a phish. So we'll pause there for a second before going on. Any questions kind of on the theory behind Web3 and Bitcoin, or anything we went over?
Wow.
Oh, good. Nice. Okay. Public and private key encryption. This is the basis of everything you do with your crypto wallet every time you sign into an exchange and anything in between. You have a public key and you have a private key. And it's the pair of those that allows information to be transmitted over the blockchain. At a very basic level, you use your public key to transfer information and use your private key to unencrypt that information and read it. No one else has access to your private key. That's why it's called a private key. As simple as possible. This is what a wallet is doing for you. The wallet is the product. Public and private key encryption is what it's doing. And it uses that to send data, NFTs, tokens, anything on the blockchain. We are going to watch another video for a minute. I'm going to send it in the group here. We're going to watch it for about 3 minutes. And rather than me going over all the nuances, small nuances, we're going to do it. So cue that up if you can, and we're going to watch it to about 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Sorry, 2:40. So there. Thank you. So the public key is available. That's what your wallet actually is. So I'm just on the Tezos wallet Kukai here, and if I want to look at my address, I'm using a social login simply. That's actually my public address. So if someone asks for your Tezos address, your ETH address, like it's actually your public key that you're giving. The private key is kept then within the wallet you set up, and you're actually pulling it from your seed phrase. Your seed phrase is your ability to recover your wallet, but it's a way. Your seed phrase is a way to reveal it. Yeah, exactly. The address is the password. If you lose your password, the seed phrase is your recovery mechanism to revealing the password. So, for example, every time that I log into Kukai with my my actual wallet that has a seed phrase to it, I'm actually going to click import wallet and actually import every single seed phrase back into Kukai over again. And then that unlocks the wallet. Yep, Kukai works quite well as a Tezos wallet. We'll have to see if we can get you a hardware wallet in China. We'll see what we can do. There's actually someone who works in the Tezos ecosystem in Asia that I've sent some things to, so I'll see if I can send them one over to you. Okay, so next up, we're going to go crypto wallets, hot versus cold. So, whoops, there we go. Hot wallets. Hot wallets are any wallet that is connected to the internet. So technically, for the very little time you might have a ledger connected to your laptop, that's technically it's a hot wallet in that moment. But not to confuse everybody, the most typical hot wallets are going to be like a Kukai I was just showing, or a Metamask. Any wallet that's a browser extension, lives in a browser, that's an app that you download onto your desktop, those are hot wallets. They can store crypto, they can sign transactions, they can send and receive crypto. And when I say store crypto, that also means store NFTs as well. Hot wallets are going to be your primary tool on a day-to-day basis for leveraging the crypto world. Cold wallets. Cold wallets are physical devices. They're also known as hard wallets. They can store crypto, they can sign transactions, and they can send and receive crypto. An example of this would be a Ledger Nano S, which looks like this, which is very similar to the one you all will get. It is a thumb drive looking piece of hardware that then opens up in this with a couple buttons on the side and a little screen. And this one happens to say Tezos on it. But does everybody understand the difference between a hard wallet and a cold wallet? Any questions or concerns or thoughts anyone have between a cold wallet and a hot wallet? We'll get two use cases for them coming up. Yeah. It's very basic stuff, but also sometimes you never know. It's always good to start at the very low level. Okay. So let's send some crypto. Does anybody want to be the recipient of one Tez? If you do, please share your public Tez address in the channel. It will not work, but I could do Metamask too. I just have Tezos set up. Is there no one out there with a Tez wallet handy that wants just one Tez? Oh, there we go. Love it. Okay. So looking at this slide once more, we're going to do a couple quick things. We're going to load a hot wallet. We're going to identify the public key input. We're going to double check the entry, even if you copy and paste it. Then we're going to sign the transaction, and then we're going to wait until it gets processed. So I am jumping to my Kukai wallet here. The little plus here, or sorry, the little arrow here is to buy Tez, or send Tez. Click there. This is going to populate a very standard interface for sending cryptocurrency. Send to the recipient. This is where the public key of the person you're sending it to. Now I'm going to do a big no-no, and I'm going to come over to the Discord chat, and I'm going to copy and paste Franco's public key. Now I'm going to then paste it, but I'm still going to check it. Make sure that the ending of it is right and the front of it is right. You never know. Did you copy and paste the whole thing? Did you leave out a couple characters? Always check the front three and the back three to make sure they match up with the one from where you've copied and pasted it. Then we're going to type in one Tez and preview. After you click preview, it's going to give you the confirmation page. By me clicking confirm, that means I am signing this transaction and sending it. Boom. This is the process of signing since I use a social login. There are scams like that. We'll get to the scam page in a couple seconds. And now I can see in recent activity that one Tez is being sent. I can even click up and we've had a confirmation, confirmed. And I can see it in the block explorer that I sent one Tez. And it's been received. Look at that, the miracle of the internet. So what we wanted to show there is this is how you send and use public and private key encryption to send money. I put in a public key of somebody, and I sent it that public key, and they unlocked it and got their single Tez with their private key. If you want to access your public keys, say in Kukai or anything, you just always look to, typically in the upper right corner, you can find where your private key is, whether it starts with ETH or XTZ, and copy it and use it anywhere else you need to go. Is there anybody that wants to see Metamask or has any questions about Metamask? I would do the Metamask, but it's just on a different laptop. Okay. So let's get into a couple tips and tricks. Signing transactions. The reason we spent so much time today talking about encryption and the cryptography background of Bitcoin is because the most common mistake that people do that has a direct impact to their safety and security in crypto is they're not aware of what they're doing when they're signing a transaction. Typically, any type of attack that might happen happens after you've already taken a bad click somewhere, or clicked on something you have not, or engaged with maybe a Discord or a Twitter that's been compromised. But you still have multiple layers of your own personal security layers to where you can catch something that's about to happen. So whenever you're prompted by a wallet to sign something or approve a permission, do not click them away as if they were some terms and conditions on an Apple device, or if it was clicking away, a GDPR pop-up on a website. Always read carefully when you're connecting your wallet for the first time to a new platform, and be suspicious of even an existing known platform when you're connecting to it after you've been disconnected. Never take anything for granted in this world, because there's always the chance that something could be awry or amiss, and make sure you're keeping an extra careful eye when you're connecting your wallet to anything. This is Kukai examples again. But typically what signing a message looks like when you are actually signing a message and putting in your password, it's going to prompt you for your password. It's going to show you the application that's made the request, and it's going to say what the request is. Metamask also does this as well. So this message was to connect to object.com. It simply says, confirming my identity as this. That is something I'm comfortable with. It's an action that I'm aware of, and it's an action that I have just approved through the permission request that you see on the right. One thing you need to always be aware of, even before you might put in your password to sign a message, look at the permission request that you've previously approved or approved another time. Somebody could change this to, instead of request operation signing, it could be sign operations on your behalf. So small things like that, whether or not they're visible, can be indicative of that you're signing into a scam or that you're touching something that you shouldn't be. So always be sure to read the things that you are signing away permissions to. And that's where we get kind of like the main 4 buckets of scams that you'll encounter out there. The biggest one is phishing. I think everybody is familiar with what phishing is. I don't think a lot of people are familiar with the level and the sophistication of phishers out there in the world right now. This could look like an email from a gallery or a artist interested in collaborating that 3 or 4 messages later, after building a relationship with them, sends you a piece of malware or a link to connect to their new platform. And you trust them because they're building this new platform and they want you to test it out. And the next thing you know, it's all gone. You really, really have to be careful, even if you're just trying to be a good actor, or even if you're just trying to respond positively to somebody that reached out. You have to always keep in the back of your mind that any new person coming into your world through a digital format could be a fraudster. And that's especially true. I think one of the most prevalent phishing hacks right now is job offers, where people are going through interviews, getting lined up to have offers, accepting offers, thinking they're starting a job, giving their banking information, and then having their bank account wiped out or their crypto account wiped out. So always be very, very, very wary of any type of new relationship that's being formed in a digital environment. And then also know that their whole goal is just to eventually get you to click on something. So you can always go and interact with people, make friends, hold a level of trust, but then just have a second level of scrutiny for any link that they send you or anything they might ever try to get you to click. Next up is porting. Porting's a less likely one to happen to any of us, but still is possible. The reason this is so key is that a lot of people use 2-factor authentication to authenticate, whether that's your Coinbase account or it's your Gmail account or anything, with their phones. And a SIM port attack is essentially where a hacker gets your phone number, convinces your mobile carrier that you got a new phone, and they recreate your phone on a new device and get into anything. Franco, that is mainly because they don't build it like that. And if they were building it like an enterprise software tool, they would. They sell an enterprise software tool version of it. Consensus does, the company that makes Metamask, and it has 2FA on it. They just don't have it on the public version. Okay. Scams. I think I touched on it enough in phishing. Only engage with trusted individuals, those who have a social reputation that you can verify. I want to spend just a couple more seconds on mallinks. So these are links that contain malware or just are bad links in general. Please, please, please scrutinize every link. Do not copy and paste any link from Discord or Twitter, and check every URL. You never know what's happened to a Twitter or a Discord, even if it's the VerticalCrypto Art Discord. You must be careful that a bad actor hasn't gotten in there, because all it takes is one bad link, and that's it. So links you don't trust, you kind of have to just put that in two categories. So if it's something that you're clicking on from, say, this Discord, you already have a level of trust there. So it's more of, okay, if this is taking me to, OpenSea.com, it's not OpenSea with two E's. And the best layer of defense to that is, okay, when you're not sure about something. So what I always do, no matter what, so there are websites out there that even if you just land on them, malware can attack your computer, but they're less likely in the world to be something that you're going to interact with because it requires a level of sophistication. What I always do is I take the URL and I try to recreate it in the URL. So I retype it. If Google auto-populates it, that's one way to check. But also if then it auto-populates to something else, then that's an issue. And sometimes I search it without putting it in like .com to see if Google is going to populate it as a search. And is this a legitimate website, or is it trying to masquerade as something else? Reverse butcher. Yes, there are scams. There are scams for everything. Yeah. I mean, first of all, don't ever click an ad. Maybe I should say that as well. Don't ever click on a Google ad. Not just because you're then going to be tracked, because if you click a Google ad, you can actually see in the URL that it goes ad tracking ... and then the URL after, and you're just going to be tracked forever on any device you engage with forever. Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly on OpenSea. So essentially on OpenSea, every single anything that you have not bought should just be never touched. And it's actually an issue that all NFT platforms need to address, is how do they actually curate what happens in the wallets? Yep. That's also a tool. That's for if you no, that's exactly it. That's for if you are getting a link from something. So essentially, by copying and pasting in a notepad, you're removing anything that's like so if there's a link and it says www.reidyager.com, and I put it in a document, and then I actually hyperlink that with a different URL, and then I put that in something else, and it doesn't hover. When you hover on top, it doesn't like populate anything. There could be a different link on that, so that's one way to get rid of it. What I was referring to earlier is more of URLs that might be misleading in their actual construction, not in the hyperlink underneath them. I really wish that it wasn't as like simple and dumb as saying like just read your URLs and don't click on anything that looks scammy. But that is seriously how 99% of all the hacks happen. I mean, we can't personally protect ourselves from like a technical hack on a platform if there's like a multi-sig issue, or if a bridge gets hacked, or there's a supply chain attack to something. We can't protect from those. So if in my I don't have wrong laptop. If on my OpenSea and I look in my wallet or even any other platform, people give you free NFTs that are just random trash or whatever they are. By engaging with those, or as Yuri mentioned, sometimes on OpenSea, people then airdrop you a fraudulent token or just a random token, and then they will bid on that token and try to get you to accept a transaction from them. I am not familiar with what the end result of accepting a transaction from them is. You don't accept them. They are airdropped. So every address, like your public key, is public. And so anyone that is looking at the ledger of all active addresses on the blockchain can then mass spam that blockchain's addresses with free tokens. That's why for the longest time, the debate around like gas fees on Ethereum actually go back to Hashcash from Dr. Adam Back in 1997. Like that was the main thing of like proof of work, was actually to create an anti-spam mechanism. So it's certainly something for all proof of stake blockchains with low gas consumption to think through, because there's no economic barrier now to spamming wallets. Yeah, you can burn them from your wallet. I don't burn them because I don't know what's going to happen. And frankly, I don't know what would happen if you did, and if there was something, or if there's even an attack vector there.
Can I join in on this just very quickly? I have a friend who had a very bad experience with getting airdropped stuff in her wallet. She tried to delete them, and they turned out to be these things that just drained her entire wallet and all her NFTs. So it's very peculiar to have stuff you didn't expect in your wallet, but what I know about them is don't even touch them. As long as they just sit there, they can't do anything.
Yeah. I would expect that most major wallets will have some type of feature in the next 6 to 18 months that are able to separate true, airdrops and NFTs from non-ones. Or maybe it's a spam mechanism, like a two-tiered inbox, like your Gmail or your email, where you have spam folder and things that are from trusted. But I would very much endorse the do not interact with them, do not touch them. If they clutter things, go view your stuff in a gallery in, on Cypher or something. Maybe that can be like the VCA residency project. Create a spam folder for crypto NFT wallets. All right, moving on. Pseudonymous identities, the pseudonymous economy. I think that while not everybody is going to operate under a pseudonym, or even maybe a pseudonym is a direct variation of their real name, the thing you have to understand is that your real name is your stored reputation. And think of a pseudonymity as an additional layer of security to your reputation. Everything that you do online, especially everything you do in the blockchain world, is not necessarily tracked, but there's a chain that follows the reputation, the metadata. That's why when you're logging into something like OpenSea or Object.com, your wallet and then maybe syncing your Twitter are the ways that you verify your identity. That is done because that's your reputation. That's the metadata of your reputation online, is your on-chain activity and your Twitter most of the time. Yep. Well, it's funny you say that because the next one is a slide on how not to dox yourself. So, do you want to share how the docs happened, or is that not something you want to share?
Yeah, it was well before I got involved with the crypto world. I used a pseudonym to sort of rebrand myself as a performer, and an ex-collaborator was very angry and said some nasty things in the press and used both my name and the rest of it, and my city and where I'd gone and whatnot. So that was unfortunate, but that was some time ago now, and it was outside of the crypto zone, and it's, now everybody knows that the two names are sort of the same, and rebranding is a big deal, so I just didn't bother. But that's the story.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate, and I mean, I think that's also why a lot of the tools and kind of the cultural understanding of pseudonymity has changed, at least in my purview, in the NFT world, to something that where it's not a fetish thing to have. It's very normal and very, very respected as well. I think a couple of the biggest things around this, in terms of make sure that you are protecting yourself if you do have a pseudonym, is one of the biggest things is pictures or profile pictures of art collected, or art that you've collected, or even your own art. If it's in your wallet, if you use it as a profile picture on Twitter, if you've tweeted about it, anything you say about different things, somebody could map back to you. And you just have to understand where your footprint exists and how the different things you do and your actions on social and on chain might be connected back to that. Maintaining multiple wallets is also a really good way to maintain pseudonymity, in the sense of you might have one wallet for your personal collecting. You might have one wallet for your minting. You might have another wallet to where you are collecting things of your friends or trading things, or one that you use to be a member of a DAO, where you might have a more physical presence in it. Understand that you can have more than one wallet and leverage them to make sure you're protecting your digital actions.
I think, can I say something?
Yeah.
I think, for example, for people that are not like a crypto native, like for me, like I'm coming from the traditional AdWords, so like it's not something you would actually like think about when you're starting the journey. So like normally you want your name. I mean, depending on your focus, how do you want to present yourself? But most of the artists I know, they use their names to present themselves. So I think that when you start on Twitter and it's something you don't really think about, I mean, should I dox myself or not? Or like, do I need a digital identity, or all these things? So it's nice just just see it also as a possibility, right?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the Web3 part, where we're just talking about different tools for a new economy, and pseudonymity and having different profiles are one of them. They're not necessary by any means. Okay. Best practices.
Before
Go ahead. Yep.
Before you move on, I just typed a question in the chat that do you recommend multiple wallets as one new wallet or multiples under the main wallet? Because you could have a Metamask and then have more wallets under that.
Great question. Let me answer it in two ways. One is best practice, and second will be my personal opinion. Best practice is that it doesn't really matter because technically those are separate public keys. If you have multiple under one, you are increasing kind of your security vulnerability because you do have the one central login point for all of those wallets. Also, there is some like metadata, like deep in chain, where you can see that they all come from one. If you really want to look hard. Personally, I would say completely separate wallet accounts with different seed phrases and different private keys. Even though it would save time just to click, between on, say Metamask. Really, I'd recommend more than one. So for me personally, I have on both Tezos and Ethereum have 3 different wallets that have 3 different practices. One for each is moving between exchanges. One for each is for collecting NFTs. One for each is for buying NFTs. So if collecting, they're fund directly from the exchange wallet into the collecting wallet. Purchase in the collecting wallet, move it then to the NFT wallet, and then the NFT wallet to the ledger. It's almost like your savings account versus your checking account, or your Venmo versus your checking account. You have different use cases for different digital wallets or real wallets in the real world. You should have different use cases for your NFT and crypto wallets as well. I don't buy a Slurpee at 7-Eleven in the same bank with the same like debit card I'm going to go and put my deposit for a house down on. Okay, and I think we'll dive into it a little bit more right now. So if you hold, in the poll that we did in the beginning, who holds Bitcoin, Ethereum, other cryptos, if that crypto is on an exchange, such as the Coinbase or a Binance, the idea that's out there that do you really own that crypto? It's very similar to the idea of if you own Apple stock. Do you really own that Apple stock, or you just have a entry and a ledger at a finance company that says you own this much, give it to me when I ask for it? The truth is it's the same in both. You don't really own that crypto if it's sitting on an exchange. It is best practice if you are holding something as a financial investment to take it off an exchange and store it in something like a hardware wallet, so that you can actually hold and be your own bank. Although that phrase is extremely marketing catchphrase heavy, but it's true. Nothing's really, there's a small likelihood that anything could ever happen to your crypto sitting on an exchange, but it's not a chance that you want to take. Folks that used things like some of the lending platforms that went bankrupt, that's a scenario where not your keys, not your crypto, by having it on an exchange versus in your own hands. But that was for lending platforms. But the best practice for daily usage of crypto is a moderate diet between hot wallet and hardware wallet. Hardware wallets are best in class safety precautions. If you don't use a hardware wallet because it just doesn't mesh with like your daily flow of life, or you don't want to figure it out, or you have anxiety built up about the idea of a hardware wallet and you just like, I freeze up every time I think about it, don't worry. It's just fine to have hot wallets doing most of your activity. It's even, just fine to have your NFTs stored in a hot wallet. But is it best in class or even best practice to do that? No. Because of all the things we outlined before, because the world is riddled with people that are bad actors and trying to scam you. So in general, my recommendation is to leverage both hot wallets and hardware wallets for the best-in-class safety across the two. So you use hot wallets when you're directly interacting with an exchange, or if you're routinely minting something, or you need to have things flowing between a marketplace and your wallet. And then once you've done an action, or you're done doing actions for a period of time, put it back all on the hardware wallet. You also do have the ability to do everything a hot wallet can do directly from a hardware wallet. You just always physically have to have the hardware wallet on your hand and plug it into the computer to do transactions. It's just a little clunkier. So quickly, I'm actually just going to, I'm not going to fully set it up, but I'm going to show you all what a hardware wallet looks like a little bit more than I did before, so that when I'm talking about leveraging a hardware wallet for everything, that you can see what I'm talking about. So as I said before, just looks like a USB thumb drive like this. You actually do have a little standard USB port right there, Android port for what it's worth. Then you have the basic cord. It looks like every other USB Android cord you've ever seen in your life. It's even got a nice little Ledger logo on it. And you simply plug that in to the Ledger. Every time I do this, I feel like I'm going to break it in half. And then you take the USB end and you put it into your laptop, however you do that. That then triggers the Ledger software that you'll then also install, and then you're actually able to manage all of your signing transactions, approving transactions, sending your Bitcoin, managing your Bitcoin, all directly from the little buttons on the Ledger and from the interface that you're using, whether you're buying or selling something. You can, if you are someone who likes to view a gallery of things you've collected or even things that you've produced on something like on Cyber or any of the other virtual galleries, you can use a Ledger for that. For the time that you need that gallery up, you can have a Ledger plugged in that has approved that transaction. Might be easier to use a hot wallet, but Ledgers can also do it nonetheless. It's really just a personal preference between how much time and effort you want to spend. And like I said before, do not stress yourself out or let anxiety build up over using a hardware wallet. It is best in class and the best practice, but it's by no means necessary 100%. With that, when you do get your hardware wallet, I would strongly recommend you go and watch a couple YouTube videos about how to use it, just so you can familiarize yourself with it, because it is like extremely basic in its functionality. Like you're just like clicking little buttons, and you should know the process and flow, but I'm not going to dive into it today. Really, that actually concludes the safety and security lecture for the Vertical Crypto Art Residency for today. I think we have about 15 minutes here, and happy to answer any questions that anybody else may have. And then we can otherwise dedicate the rest of the time back to personal time or meditation in the corner or a cup of tea,
Yeah, that's something regarding the use of Binance and hot wallets.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been using Binance sometimes because, as a way to like hold some value on the exchanger, because like I can set up like the stop limits and stuff. That's really worked for me. Like it's been really helpful because like I said, it's my income. Like, so I don't want to lose the value of it, but I'm also, if I'm not wanting to take the money out, I can also wait to see if I'll get a little more, right? So there, if you want to do something like that, you will need to have your hardware wallet connected to your Binance in a way or something like that. If you wanted to just like, let's say through the day on fluctuations, set up some like sort of stop limit on the sale of you have to transfer it to Binance. You can't do it through the hardware wallet, right?
So two ways to answer. I actually believe that yes, you can like have it fully on the hardware wallet. It's more of just that in the like if you're talking about having an automated trade setup that's looking for a stop limit to sell if it drops below certain amounts that you're maintaining your income, you then would have to there'd have to be another manual step there to have it on your hardware wallet. Like you'd have to get notified that it's reaching the limit, and then you'd have to like jump back to the laptop and then sign the transaction from your ledger, move it onto the exchange, and then
No,
trigger it.
yeah, it's
Yeah. There are so like this is like a big pain point of like financial institutions or like institutional actors in crypto, to where like they are, leveraging large amounts of Match is actually great. It does work. It's like but it still is itself is a hot wallet at the end of the day. But what I was saying is that like there are some institutional products for this, and actually I know like Coinbase Pro, and even I bet Binance for its institutional customers like has a tool set up for this, but I don't think it's available to the general public, us small things under here, just trying to live versus trying to make billions. Any other questions for today?
I have a question. Once you've been hacked, what to do? And basically, you could go into Etherscan and revoke permissions. And I thought that was weird because that's not what I had heard before. And revoking those permissions would allow you to keep on using that once hacked MetaMask. Is that so or no? Basically, that's the question.
There's a large nuance in there. So if you know what hacked you, or where the malware came from, or what thing compromised your wallet, you can go in and revoke the permissions of whatever that attacker thing or entity or platform was, and that kicks them out of being able to leverage your wallet. But if you don't know what hacked you or what attacked you, you can revoke permissions for everything and clear the wallet. But I don't know if that would still solve the whole issue, because you don't know still what compromised the wallet in the first place. And because there's many different ways to compromise a wallet, and gaining permissions to a wallet fraudulently is just one factor. So the answer is yes, you can revoke permissions, but they only solve it for if you know what the bad actor was, and if you know that they compromised your device by getting into your permissions.
If you know the wallet that the money was taken to, does that help? No. Okay.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. It's terrible. The worst part about getting hacked in crypto and having money stolen from you is that you can see who stole it and where the money is, and you can't get it.
Yes, that's exactly. You were like, it went there and it's taking everyone else's money too. And you're watching it.
Don't click on links. Don't connect your wallet to anything you don't trust or that's new without verifying it. And even if you verified it, double check everything.
Or if you wish to be explorative, you could always create a wallet just for connecting to any kind of weird thing that you wish to explore. Have zero or very minimal amount of whatever currency you wish to hold in it, just so you can make it, I don't know, authorized in a way. But yeah, you could absolutely go and expose if you're a Robin Hood or a uh, amazing adventurous spirit. Go and find the
This could be the
scams.
start of like a new art project.
Absolutely. But don't do it with anything that's safe for you. Don't do it with anything that's important to you. Any of your art, any of your supported tokens. I suppose. That's not a good idea. Any other questions?
I think Layla's typing. Let's see what.
It's not a question. I was just gonna say that I actually have a wallet to get into places that I don't know and they're not safe. And I was
I love
laughing.
it. Oh, that's great. All right. Well, everyone, thank you very much for having me and letting me talk to you for this afternoon. It's been great wherever you are in the world. I cannot wait to see what comes out of the rest of the residency. Also, I can't wait to go and explore everyone's art and collect some as well, maybe. Other than that, if you ever need anything, you can hit me up on Twitter. DMs are open. It's just Reid_Yager. And carry on with the amazing stuff. And also, one parting note, and I know some of you kind of are jumping into all this from the traditional art world or the contemporary art world. A lot of this stuff it's very straightforward. The same principles over like how you stay safe for like your financial apps and your email are the same principles. Don't click on things. Don't engage with things you don't trust. It shouldn't scare you off from engaging with everything. As wallets especially become more integrated into different aspects of applications and platforms in society, like the different attack vectors will get much more narrow and the use cases for them will get much more simple and clean and secure. And I think that the biggest thing to consider is that NFTs right now and marketplaces to provide them in the future are really going to look like vessels for the digital art market to thrive and anything created digitally to buy and sell and to be authenticated. And that's the underlying value here. And that's what's happening. And so treating NFTs as just a piece of software for the authentication and buying and selling of something in a decentralized environment is the best way to think about everything that's happening and not get too hung up on crypto and Bitcoin and everything else that kind of distracts from the real value that's happening in the Web3 space. And that's my end spiel. Other than that, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for taking the time to give us such an important talk. And I, for myself, I can say that I'm feeling much more clear about some things that I can do better in regards to my safety, and also I can feel more explorative in terms of blockchain technology. Thank you so much again, and thanks to everyone for coming to the class, and we'll talk soon.
Cheers.
Bye.